listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again. Today, we have another amazing show lineup for y'all. We have a special guest. He is the CEO and co-founder of PAX Financial Group, LLC. His name is Darryl Lyons. And man, he also is no stranger to the podcast world. So this is an easy interview for him. We're going to learn everything about him, his personal life, how his amazing business, PAX Financial Group, how it is a big opportunity for people in San Antonio community to have great benefits from it. First and foremost, Darryl, I know you're super busy, man. Thank you for your time today.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I'm excited to have a conversation with you today, for sure.
So definitely, man, let's start out first. Talk about a little bit about you being an expert in money and small businesses. What got you involved with PAX Financial as far as wanting to launch it?
Yeah, I mean, to take it back a little bit, we didn't have much money growing up, so we moved around a little bit in South Texas. I lived in Bernie, I lived in Somerset, lived in Harlingen, not in all of these orders, but I ended up graduating from Medina Valley High School in Castroville, Texas, and we lived in a little trailer on the side of the road. And I remember edging the trailer because the weeds were growing up, the grass was high. And so I was edging it. And the problem when you're edging a trailer with skirting is you can crack the skirting, so you have to be careful. And I always thought, man, it'd be nice to have a house with a foundation, not skirting. And so I had a friend and her dad, they had a nice house. And I was just curious about, like, what did her dad do for a living? And he was a banker. And I thought, well, you know, bankers, I guess they make money and I can have a house with a foundation one day. So I ended up going to college. I was the first one in my family, and went to St. Mary's University, and right there at it's an intersection of Bandera Woodlawn and primarily Spanish speaking community. They had a Bank of America there. And so I went to that Bank of America and asked for a job, and I dropped off a resume, and like the next week I dropped back in and said, hey, are y'all opening? And I'm not joking. They must have lost my resume 6 times. And finally they said, okay, we'll give you a job. And so they gave me a job. And the idea for me was just to be exposed to a business that I didn't know anybody in, but apparently these bankers, they had houses with foundations. So that paid my way through college. I worked there about 35 hours a week, and really, I mean, it was a grind for 4 years. But I started to go to the business school at St. Mary's and got exposed to other facets of the business world. I didn't know anything really about accounting and tax, but I learned it there. Didn't know anything about investing, but I learned it there. So when I graduated, I had a degree in corporate finance and accounting, but this also banking background. So not knowing what to do with that education, I had to go to the library and learn about careers. And I found this career it's called a certified financial planner. And the role of that person helps people make better financial decisions. And I thought, well, I have a foundation in tax and investments in banking. So that seems like it makes sense. So I started in this business the very day after I graduated college and worked for some big companies. And then started PAX about 5 years after I graduated, more or less. So that's a long answer to a short question, but that kind of gives you my background.
No, that's perfect. And tell us, the audience, a little bit more about the philosophy and values that underpin PAX Financial Group and how they guide your approach to helping your clients achieve their financial well-being.
Yeah. So when me and 2 other guys started it, and I ended up buying one of them out very amicably. He's a dear friend of mine today. We had a set of principles that were important to us, and we've spent many years refining those principles. There was kind of a series of events that made me refine it, me personally, as I play the CEO role, and then it translated to our organization. And But without getting into that story, and I'm happy to digest it, but there was a certain events that led me to a place where we took these principles and thoughts behind how we construct an organization and framed it into one sentence, which is where we're at today. And we are fiduciaries who honor Judeo-Christian values. And so fiduciaries is a legal term that says that we look out legally. We are legally responsible for looking out for clients' best interests. And not every financial person in the world or the industry has that standard of care. We do. So fiduciary is very important. And then the fact that we honor Judeo-Christian values, we think deeply about people who have Judeo-Christian values and what's important to them. And then we adopt our advice to be able to cater to that community who have these deeply rooted beliefs. And there's actually financial tools to be able to help those people. And so that's kind of how we've built our organization.
When it comes to retirement planning, I mean, we hear that at some point when we are in our careers, especially when we're getting knee deep in our careers. What is a significant concern that many individuals, as far as similar patterns, may have when it comes to dealing with planning for retirement?
That's a great question. I think we have to really take seriously the threat of Social Security not being there for people. And several generations before, many grandparents, they relied on a pension at a certain point in life where they could live off of that check, which is basically you quit work, you're retired, and you get a check from the company for the rest of your life. And it was a really good deal. You worked for a steel company for 20 years, and then the next 20 years of your life, you got a check. But the problem is we've all started living longer. And so these companies that created the pensions, they just can't do it anymore. The economics don't work. So then you turn to the Social Security system and you say, okay, well, if I can't get a pension, maybe I'll get Social Security. Well, if you look at the numbers on Social Security, it's supposed to run out of money in the next few years. I think 2035 is the actual inflection point. So relying on a pension is no longer an option, and relying on Social Security, the math just doesn't make sense. So that requires us as individuals to be more responsible. And it doesn't feel right because it's a little bit of a sacrifice today, but we've got to start doing it, because in the future, if we don't, down the road, when we want to retire and transition out of life, we're either going to be dependent on the state for everything, to get your groceries, to get your health care. And it's just not a good environment. You won't have freedom if you're dependent on a state, or you might be dependent upon family member, your kids, your parents, and that's just not healthy either. So in order for your future self to not be dependent on anyone, to have that freedom down the road, we need to start thinking today. And so the easy way to do that is to start saving 15% of everything that you make from the very top, the gross income, save 15%. And have discipline of saving and never stop. And so that's how I think about retirement today.
Once again, we're talking to our guest today, Darryl Lyons. He's the CEO and co-founder of PAX Financial Group, LLC. You can go to the website, paxfinancialgroup.com. You mentioned earlier some faith principles in this business. Kind of explore that further with the audience, how biblical principles are also a source for how this service is rendered.
Yeah, it's a good question. So we there's different ways that we apply it, and we don't exclusively work with people in the community that are Christians. We just make sure that we offer services that are very important to Christians. One of which is when people invest their money, they usually buy stocks, and stocks is ownership of a company or mutual funds. It's all the same. It's all basically buying publicly traded companies, whether it's Apple or whoever. But some of these companies in recent years, and you've seen it on TV, have made decisions that undermine a Christian worldview. contradict or directly oppose. There's been cases of that as well. And so I think it's everyone's right to say, I just don't want to be a shareholder. I don't want to be an owner of that same company that's using their profits to do something I don't agree with. I think that's within everyone's right to say, no, I passed on being an owner. But the problem with that is that we, in our economic system, we haven't had the ability to save money for retirement and at the same time say, no, I'd rather not be an owner. But because of technology today, and all the algorithms and the artificial intelligence, we're able now to exclude companies from clients' portfolios that are specifically antithetical to a biblical worldview. And so that allows people to invest knowing that their money is not supporting things that are contradictory to their passions. And that's been a very interesting place, one that I wasn't focused on being involved in for many years. But as the marketplace started to become less expensive and there became more options and those options were doing a good job, we decided to adopt them. And as a result of adopting it, our growth rate has been really very attractive. So that's just one element of integration of faith and business.
When it comes to investments and building a portfolio, for listeners who either A, might be too young to know much about it, or B, they simply just haven't had exposure to learning about this, kind of break down what it means to start investing and how you walk your clients through understanding how that process works.
That's a great question. So because some people are just getting started, and I did mention saving 15%. 15% is whatever income you make. It needs to be that very top number. So, you got that top number, but after you pay taxes and everything else, maybe insurance, then you get the net check. That's the one that hits your bank account. But I'm actually looking at the very top number. I need you to say 15%. I absolutely need you to say 15%. Social Security is not going to be there. Please say 15%. But then the question is, okay, I get that, Darryl. Where do I save it and how frequently? Well, if you can save it every month, that'd be good. If you're just starting out, I love something called a Roth IRA. A Roth IRA, and you have to qualify. You can Google this. Your income has to be under a certain amount. But if you can do a Roth IRA and put all of that 15% into your Roth IRA, that money will grow completely tax-free. You'll never pay taxes on it, which allows the money to grow a lot faster. Then if you think about that Roth IRA, it's just simply a wrapper around your investments. What investments do you choose? So if you can go to plenty of places to do this. Certainly you go to PAX. PAX has minimums. So our minimum is $5,000. We also have some onboarding fees. So sometimes we're a little bit more harder for clients who are just getting started. Usually we work with people who already have some money, but if you're just getting started, then you can go directly to Charles Schwab and or any of the custodians, open a Roth IRA account in your name and set up a certain amount of money. So if the 15% is $150 a month, then put in $150 a month into a Roth IRA. And then it's going to say, what investments do you want inside of your Roth IRA? And there's a lot to choose from, but to keep it simple, Warren Buffett and many other experts in the marketplace say, hey, keep it simple when you're starting out and buy something called an S&P 500 exchange traded fund. Often the ticker is SPY. And the idea behind that is, this is not my recommendation. This is just kind of the general marketplace's recommendation. And so you certainly need to do your due diligence. But the general market recommendation is to buy that type of investment because you're going to own 500 companies in one single transaction, and that diversifies real well. So in summary, 15% Roth IRA, and inside of the Roth IRA, something a lot of people in the marketplace suggest an S&P 500 type of fund. And my language is very specific because I can't give advice on the air, but I'm kind of had to redirect my rhetoric to let you know this is what a lot of people are saying in the marketplace. I hope that's a good workaround for you.
Definitely. And when people want to learn even more and dive deeper, what resources they can utilize, they can go to your website, paxfinancialgroup.com. You have blog posts, you have podcasts. Tell us a little bit about your podcast, because I mentioned that earlier that you're not a stranger to podcast world. What are some of the things that you discuss in your podcast?
Yeah. So thank you for the website. The website has a lot of content there. I have several books. I'll have a new book coming out soon called Retire. No, that one's already out. I'm sorry. This one's Biblical Responsible Investing. So that'll be out soon. But specifically, my podcast is called Retire in Texas. And that one, I do my best to try to take all these very difficult topics and help it be relatable and understandable. It's been really remarkable how well it's done. I don't know, maybe I had low expectations, but a lot of people are listening, and I hope that I'm able to provide leadership in all the noise that's in the marketplace today. But it's called Retire in Texas, and I have a blast doing it. So hope you get a chance to check it out sometime.
You also have on your website, PAX Quick Guides. It's a collection of articles that cover personal finance topics. I mean, at what point should someone say, you know what, it's time to have a meeting and talk to you guys?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's a certain inflection point. I would say the way I look at it is if you have like some old 401ks that, 401k at an old company that you need help with, that's a good inflection point. If you have gone, there's a guy named Dave Ramsey, and he does Financial Peace University. If you've gone through his baby steps, and you're at a point where you need to speak to somebody, I believe it's baby step 4 or 5. I haven't thought about it in a few months or a few years, actually. I'm a huge Dave Ramsey fan, so I should know it. But the first baby step is $1,000 in your emergency fund. Second is paying off all credit cards. Third is having 3 months of reserves. And fourth would be saving 15%. So it's baby step 4. I had to use my fingers. So when you get to baby step 4, you've paid off, you have no consumer debt. Then it's a good time to come see us. So those are a couple inflection points. An old 401ks that are sitting out there, or just a bunch of money in the bank account. Usually we can help you with that. And then, or you have gone through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace and you're on baby step 4.
When it comes to taxes, tax planning, wealth protection offered by you guys is also a crucial point for someone's financial well-being. What are some key strategies that they can understand to explore when it comes to not just retiring in Texas, but dealing with tax?
Yeah, the IRAs are really useful. They're the individual retirement arrangements, IRAs, and the 401ks are just extremely useful tools to consider. And the 401k, if your company offers one, you got to take advantage of it, especially if there's a match. So those are two tools that, are go-to. The Roth IRA is, if I contrast it with the traditional IRA, the Roth IRA allows your money to grow completely tax-free. But the traditional IRA allows you an immediate tax deduction. We're inclined to lean towards the Roth IRA for many people because down the road, you'll be thankful for that. And then there's some more advanced techniques. I'm a huge advocate for charitable giving. So I really like for people to consider increasing their charitable giving. Right now, the deduction for charitable giving isn't as attractive as it used to be because many people, you get the choice when you file your tax return, you get a choice of the higher of a standard deduction or the itemized deduction. So for many people, the standard deduction's higher. So we often lose out on the charitable deduction. I say all that because I don't want to discourage charitable activity. I think that if you do give charitably, I think it's still good for the soul and it's good for humanity in general. So when the charitable deduction becomes more attractive and tax laws change, that's just a bonus. But I do encourage people to give charitably.
We're talking to Darryl, Lyons, CEO and co-founder of PAX Financial Group. When it comes to those who are either already retired or they're planning to go ahead into retirement, what are some of the good strategies, if you will, that can be practiced to enjoy a comfortable as can be retirement life?
It's funny you should ask that. I was just writing an article on Forbes right before this interview. And what I wrote was, I want people to practice pivoting. So instead of retirement by definition is, I know it's kind of a weird definition, but it says the disposal of a no longer useful asset. So if you think about it, then when you retire, you're no longer a useful asset. I don't think about life that way. So we often talk about people pivoting into another chapter in life. And so how do you pivot? Well, in an unideal scenario, you're sitting at watching Fox News or whatever all day, and you're pulling at your, weeds and planting flowers. Like I always call it the lifestyle of Fox News and flower beds. I mean, I don't think that's the ideal retirement. I think people have a lot of opportunity in retirement to think about the next chapter in a way that's still has purpose. I mean, a lot of people have wisdom, they have time and maybe money. And so I find that there's, there can really be a calling in the next chapter of retirement to really pivot well and to serve the community and serve others and serve family. And the reality is when people are able to kind of pivot well, they live longer, they live happier, they live healthier. And so that does require thinking deeply about the next chapter, not just jumping into it, but thinking deeply about what that life looks like, and having counselors involved, people that you can brainstorm with, and a thinking partner to kind of say, okay, here's what I'm thinking about doing with my day, and here's some organizations I want to be a part of. That's healthy. And so we don't talk about retirement. We talk about pivoting. We want people to pivot well.
When it comes to having a healthy financial life, you've been in this business for a while. What are some of the common threads you see that have an impact on people's ability to not just plan for their retirement, but to, in general, have a healthy financial all-around life?
It really starts with the mindset. I've been in family dynamics or communities where you're around a lot of people that don't have money or maybe poor. And then I've been around people that are rich, and you just kind of start to learn how people think in these different cultures. And there is a different way of thinking. And I've been so curious about money for so long that I have spent much of my life observing and thinking about ways people just approach life. For example, a lot of people who are broke and will perpetually be broke think about their tax return all the time. I know that sounds weird, but that's the environment of a lot of people who are broke, or they think about a lottery ticket. Rich people don't think about those things. Rich people think about increasing their net worth, creating a community of relationships. They don't think about getting theirs. Like, I'm going to get mine. They don't think about, they're like, how can I help this other person? I'm not saying that there's a moral difference. Like, the rich people are better people than the poor people, because I've seen bad rich people too. I have. Very manipulative. I've seen bad people in both communities, but generally speaking, there are certain attitudes towards money that enable rich people to get that have helped them get there. And just as a couple is one, and that I just referenced, I think a lot of poor people without money, think about their tax return. And a lot of people who are making money are thinking about their net worth. How much are they worth? Are they paying down debt? Are they squirreling money aside? Are they thinking about how to get a pay increase? And what do they need to do to get better? They're not victims. I know that sounds very odd, but just living in both communities, I've seen distinctions there. And I've had to change some of the ways I behave. And I've had to take inventory of even the way I think about things over the years. And there's seriously deep-rooted challenges and ideas that we get taught that we have to unwind to get ahead. So I hope that helps.
Definitely. And last question for you. I know you kind of answered this throughout, but just for those who are listening, if there's a positive habit that, regardless if you're about to retire, if you are young and you just started your career, what are some healthy, positive habits that you've seen over the years have consistently been beneficial to individuals who not just practice good habits, but they started like with baby steps and they just keep doing it day in, day out?
Yeah, there's so many, but I would say just, it may not be a day in and day out, but it should be, is reading. Not on your phone too. I know that sounds kind of odd, but there's something about getting away from the phone for just a little bit, the screen, and helping train your mind to, you're exercising your mind to have a better focus. Because if you look at certain, our country's focus level, we've trended down quite a bit in our ability to stay focused. For people that are still listening to a financial talk, I thank you for your focus. If you've stayed with us this long, thank you for your focus. Now, I'm probably not speaking to you, the ones that are listening, but the ones that have already checked out, they're getting away from your phone and actually picking up a book. They say readers are leaders, and it's really true. And so I read books all of the time. And if somebody can create a habit of reading books and just trying to learn from other people, learning from, whether it's biographies. I think one year I read like 40 biographies on presidents, whether it was Washington or Lincoln or Andrew Jackson or Eisenhower or Bush or Obama. I read them all but I guess 4 or 5. And I think at that point I was just tired of them. So probably need to go back and just finish them all together. But anyways, I think that would be my number one recommendation, is to read. And I have 4 kids. I'm telling this all the time. Maybe you guys will listen better than they do, at least right now, but they'll get there.
Once again, man, true honor talking to our guest today, the CEO and co-founder of PAX Financial Group, LLC, Darryl Lyons. You can go to his website, paxfinancialgroup.com. Once again, Darryl, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Enjoyed it.